The Gold Rush. The first sight of this amazing discovery in California was by James Marshall. When he found it in 1848, he says his famous quote, "My eye was caught by something shining. I reached my hand down and picked it up. It made my heart thump, for I felt certain it was gold." James Marshall. A woman named Luenza and her husband, a 49er, was one of the many people who set out to find gold. So there they were, Luenza, her husband, and their two babies. As they were there and her husband was out mining, seeking for gold, one man begged Luenza for her biscuit that she had made. The man offered her lots of money for it. At that moment, Luenza realized that she could be making lots of money from this, even more than her husband finding gold by feeding miners. Since feeding miners during this time was making her so much money, she decided to open a hotel. Describing a typical miner. Out of all of these miners in California trying to find gold, about two-thirds of all of them were white men. But even with two-thirds of them being white men, lots of people came from all over for the gold rush. People came anywhere from South America to China or even Australia. With all of these people, there were lots of immigrants. But even with all of the immigrants, one in every 10 of them were Chinese. That is a lot. But one thing about Chinese miners, rather than white men mining, was that the Chinese were very patient. The Chinese would stay in one spot mining as long as they needed. Whereas compared to the white men, they would change multiple spots a day. While this is going on, there is a lot of emotions going on. Being around the same people every day for a long time while you are all trying to get something before the others, it's kind of like a competition. When you're in a competition, you normally want to win, or in this case, find all the gold and get money rather than the others. Due to all this, miners got greedy and angry very fast. Even in some cases, there was some violence. Why many 49ers didn't get rich. 49ers are people that set out to find gold, sometimes even dedicate their life to it. Starting with the journey, some 49ers didn't even make it to California to find gold. Lots got sick and some died on the way there by having to travel through stuff like storms, spoiled food, and seasickness are the main leading causes to death while traveling in this point in time. Sometimes it wasn't what they got while traveling that led them to death. It was also where they were traveling. They traveled through stuff like braving rivers, endless prairies, and steep mountains and tiny trails. Lots of 49ers were on the younger side. They were set out to make a good living at a young age so they wouldn't have to work forever and could retire pretty early. But with this, many younger people wasted their time searching for gold when it was even hard to find gold flakes that weren't even worth that much. The relationship between the Chinese and the gold rush. The Chinese traveled from all places to join the California gold rush. But with this, the Chinese were smart and patient. The Chinese used this system and they called it playout sites. The Chinese used abandoned gold areas known as their playout sites, and they would dig deeper than the Americans did. The Americans left because the easy to find gold was gone. So these sites turned into abandoned sites that the Chinese used. With this method, the Chinese did find better profits. The legacy of the gold rush. The gold rush is still known to this day. The gold rush is actually one of the reasons why California is a state. It's because many people moved to California after the gold rush. People wanted to move there because things were cheap. Items in stores and land was very cheap because California had a new economy because it was a new state. All in all, the gold rush was a great thing because some gained money from gaining gold and others gained a cheaper place to live. Life in mining camps. Lots of mining camps were set up along the Sierra Nevada River, which tents were set along. Along with these camps and people sacrificing for them, only few got sick. There were few wooden buildings and they were stores and saloons. They only had what they needed slash could afford. These camps were very dangerous for gold pickings. That in these camps were very slim. They had to stand in knee-deep icy streams that had lots of mud and sand in them. With this, disease spread and circled around, miners' health decreased heavily. That led to them having to pay outrageously for supplies. The relationship between the gold rush and manifest destiny. People know manifest destiny as the people's sign to expand. With this, some moved west and lots died on the way. The gold rush was west, and the main sign was to move west. The California gold rush helped people move west. Maybe this was even some of their motivation. The sign worked because after the gold rush, California got so populated that it became a state. All in all, the California gold rush was a great thing for many people and for our world today.